Okay, so listen up, students. If you're seeing this video and you're not a student, well, that's great. You can enjoy it. If you are a student, there's a real good chance that this will be attached to an ed puzzle. So that means there'll be a quiz at the end of it. So let's see what happens here. So let's go back to our piece of code. All right. Ever so brief, right? We've opened up a serial port. We have said, hey, let's hold it until our serial window is open. Then we're going to wait a short period of time to give our processor a chance to catch up so we can actually synchronize and get our displays. I've seen many students through the years where the output happens so fast that they never see it displayed because they just didn't give their computer a chance to actually catch up. Then we've got our loop, which is of course running over and over again, and it's running, or it's calling, a function called demo1. So let's talk a little bit about naming conventions. Okay, let's say for example I wanted to call this one demo. First off, you can see that it doesn't like it because it's not even red. Okay, so if I verify this, it's going to die. Doesn't like it. You cannot start a function name with a number. All right, it's actually a lot of things you can't do. For example, let's say I wanted to do something kind of cool and fancy and say it was number one. All right, already I think you can sense that that's not going to work either. Okay, so whoops, I forgot my O. Alright, so I can't use funky characters. About the only funky character I can use for a function name is the underscore. That seems to be perfectly fine. So if I want to do that, I'm good to go. I can use the underscore and we can load this up and we can see that the compiler is perfectly happy and everything is great. Okay? The next thing we should talk about is, sort of standards. What's the recommended? Okay. The recommended is to use something called Camelback, and it works really well. And it becomes easy, because remember I can't, I should actually mention I can't even do a space, right? If I do that, you can see the color is lost. It doesn't recognize it, right? So if I want to have something that's descriptive, I'm going to have to come up with another way to string it together so that the compiler understands it and everything is good. So clearly the underscore works. The other way is, let's give it a little bit more of a descriptive name. If I want to make it so it said, say, hello, all right, this is called Camelback, where I start with a lowercase and I end, or I start the second word with an uppercase. Okay, so this works great as well. And if I stick it in there, you can see it's fine. And you can see it's pretty easy to read because I've highlighted the switchings of the words. And I can keep adding on to this. So I could say hello today. Okay. And now I have a much longer, more descriptive function name, and it's perfectly fine. And I'm using Camelback. So I'm putting the start of my new words in a capital letter, the first word being lowercase. The other thing is you don't want to do is you really don't want to. It works. I could actually in several different languages, whatever. I can make this super long. That's usually discouraged. It will work, but it's not normal convention. You want to be short and descriptive. Okay. Let's see, what else do I want to say about functions? I think that's it. So no funky characters. Underscore is okay. Do not start with a number. That will fail. Do not put a space in it. That will fail. You'll see it's failing because it doesn't highlight. It doesn't understand it. And you do want to kind of use Camelback. Oh, the last thing I should actually add is please, 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 never do something like this. It's perfectly fine so far as function, but I have no idea what the heck you're doing. It's not descriptive. It's too short. It's just not good practice. So your function name should be generally descriptive of the function in a short and a concise way without any funky characters and starting with a lowercase letter. All right, so do you guys have that? I hope so. I'm going to pause for a second and set up for something else. Okay, so let's add a couple more really small functions. Once again, I'm going to copy my delineator right here, paste it right there, and I think I'll make a void. I'm actually going to call it, I'm going to have this thing say something. I'm going to have it say, I like. Yeah, so I'm going to do say I like. Okay, that's going to be the name of my function. I know it's a little silly, but it'll make more sense when it's all said and done. And I'm going to copy this line right here, and I'm going to put in here, see, I like, just like that. All right. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take and copy this, and I'm going to paste it. And I'm going to make, let's say, tuna. Okay. And let another one. Let's give another one. Let's say, cash. And last but not least, I'm going to scroll this up so you can see all this. We don't need to see the setup anymore. I'll put one more in here, and I'll call it, make space. I'll make it make space. And I'm literally going to have it do nothing. Just an empty space. So the way this works is the loop is going to follow the sequence. Okay? So I can start off with demo 1, which was hello world. And then after this, I can put in here, let's try this one, I like. So say I like, and a semicolon there, and I like cash. Say cash. And then I'm going to make space. Just like that. So in theory, if I load this up, it'll call those functions in sequence. And we will see on our serial monitor. And there you have it. Hello world, I like cash. And if I want to change that, I can change this to tuna, for example. And we load it up, and it's going to call the I like tuna. Okay, I like tuna. Let's say I did want that on one line. Remember I said that ln is actually what declares it to switch to a new line at the end? Well, let's get rid of, let's say in the I like, I'm going to get rid of the ln. And it's not going to be perfect. You'll see in a second. So now when it reaches out and says I like, it didn't tell it to go to a new line. And you can see it is actually sticking it there. But it does it immediately. So if I want it to look good, I do have to include the space. All right. So now you can see that by removing this ln, I can have multiple things printing, and I can choose to either have it on new lines or I can have it continue on with a line. Let's say, this is going to be introducing yet another little concept. Let's say, for example, I want to put a new line in some other place, if I really wanted to, could I do it? Absolutely. I'm going to split hello world, all right, into 2 lines without actually having to do it twice. I'm going to do it by simply using I have to tell the compiler, it's like, hey, I don't want this n. If I put this n here, just like that, which is short for new line, you can see that it'll print it. And I end up with this obnoxious n in the middle of my hello world. Right? But if I want it to do something with the n, I can use that slash. This is the one that's above enter on most keyboards. Okay? If I use this, it'll tell it, whoa, switch over. I'm going to give it something else. This is a message to me in some way. All right? And when I do that, it split it up, and it's now on 2 lines, because right in the middle, I've switched it over to say, hey, new line, and it puts this on a new line. Okay? So, what else can we do with that? Let's look at let's look, for example, at well, let me pause and I'll create something new. Okay, so let's add one more demonstration before we call this one done. I'm going to go ahead and copy my delineator right here. I'm going to paste it right there. Let's call this void. We'll go back to demo 2. We haven't used that yet. All right, and what do I want to do? I like to copy and paste a lot, so I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to say in here, days I am free. Okay, and then I'm going to add another line to it, and I'm going to say in here, we'll do days 1, 2, 3. And then here I will do it again, and I'll say Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Okay, and if I go ahead now, and I'm going to comment all that out and change that to a 2 and upload, you can see that it's going to go ahead and display it. It should, at least. There we go. Oh, you know what? See how it's scrolling? I've got that stupid delay in one of these functions. I think I'm going to throw a delay right here. So no matter what we do, it's always going to delay inside the loop. So let's load that again. And there we go. Okay. So it doesn't look very good. It's all kind of wadded up. This 1, 2, 3 doesn't line up. So let's make sure everything lines up. Well, let's start with a tab. So I'm going to use that switch T right there. And I think I'll do that for all of these. This actually is going to put a tab into it. All right, so now everything is going to be all lined up, we hope. Let's find out. And load that up. Ah, so much better. Okay, we've tabbed to start. Now these are starting to line up. Hey, let's put a separate in here so we can see the individual line. So again, how do we do that? Oh, that's right. We can just use the switch N for new line. And then it's going to throw a new line at the end of this. So there'll be 2 new lines. So it'll end up giving us a space at the end. Okay, so now we've got a space. Let's say I really want these to be in quotes. Well, then it would be switch quote. And I'm going to run out of time. So I might have to stop with... We're going to load that, because we're going to run out of time. And now you can see we're displaying quotes. I'll end it here. See you soon.